Are you feeling frustrated? Are you ready for the truth to come out? For the value, the real value of your silver, of your gold, your precious metals mining stocks, for true price discovery to occur. Because every time we turn around, we hear about how great the economy is, how great the employment picture is, how the GDP grew during the third quarter of 2023 at 4.9%. And all this quote-unquote great news only serves to suppress the price of silver and gold further. But like a beach ball being held underwater, they can only do it for so long because eventually the truth comes out, and we're going to talk about some of that truth right now in this video. I have a question for you. How many jobs do you have? More on that in just a minute. But part of this great economy that we're living under right now, we can feel it, right? Is low unemployment. An employment picture like we haven't seen in decades in the United States. But if you peel the cover backs, look under the hood just a little bit, you discover some very interesting facts, one of which is that real wage growth, that means what you can buy in real terms with the money that you're earning at your job, has actually shrunk over the last year. That's why it feels like you're working harder and harder to buy fewer and fewer goods and services. And it gets even more interesting when we consider that the labor participation rate, that's the number of people who are actually counted as being part of the labor pool, well, it's lower still now than it was pre-pandemic levels. And if you feel like maybe you need to have more than one job just to make ends meet, that's because you're not alone. We've got millions and millions of Americans that are being forced to work several jobs just to put food on the table and fuel in their cars. If you're looking to buy gold, silver, or platinum, do yourself a favor and check out Pimbex, the online precious metals bullion dealer and sponsor of Ron's Basement. I was a happy customer before they offered to support the channel. You'll find they have the best prices, quality, and service. I think Pimbex is best, and you will too. And be sure to tell them that you're from Ron's Basement. Thankfully, we have such a strong economy. Yes, grew by almost 5% during the third quarter. But if we take a closer look there, we see some cracks in the armor. Much of that growth was on the back of consumer spending. Consumer spending makes up a lion's share of the U.S. economy. And when you analyze the numbers, what you find out is that most all of that consumer spending, that big increase, that was done with debt. Consumers are borrowing money to do things like go on vacation, go out to eat, pay the electric bill. We saw a huge increase in consumer debt during that period. As a matter of fact, credit card debt in the United States right now is at an all-time high level. Just at the same time that the interest rates being charged on that credit card debt are above 20%, and in some cases even higher than 30%. Do you think that is sustainable? Because remember, the U.S. economy is dependent on the consumer. I think we have some bumps in the road heading our way. Does it feel like to you that Americans are starting to live on borrowed time? Because remember, real wage growth was negative, and the only thing that's helping people make it through is to borrow more and more money. It's not a sustainable situation. But let's take a broader view, because the government will be there to save us, right? First Mining Gold is a development company advancing two of the largest gold projects in Canada. Springpole in Ontario and Duparquet, located in Quebec, each already has 5 million ounces of gold reserves,
but exploration initiatives are underway at both projects to find even more gold. First Mining is well-financed, has zero debt, and owns an interest in 4 additional Canadian gold development projects.
In a recent article, Daniel LaCauley had this to say about our recent spurt in GDP growth. He said a large part of the growth in GDP came from the bloated government spending financed with more debt and inventory revaluation, adding 0.8 and 1.4 percentage points to GDP growth. Many of these temporary effects will revert in the fourth quarter. The level of public debt is exceedingly concerning. The increase in gross domestic product between the third quarter of 2022 and the same period of 2023 was a mere $414 billion, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, while the increase in public debt was $1.3 trillion. The United States is now in the worst year of growth, excluding public debt accumulation, since the 1930s. Consumption financed by soaring credit card debt and economic growth disguised by enormous government spending and record public debt are not indicators of a strong economy, but proof of a very worrying trend that may last another 2 quarters, but will likely result in a much weaker economy in the next 3 years. So when we hear all this great news about the economy, when we hear how this great economy, great employment picture is giving the Federal Reserve the solid ground they need to be aggressive with monetary policy, which pushes down the price of silver and gold. Let's look under the hood and see what's really going on. Hey, I appreciate you joining me here in the basement. We're going to talk about the tough subjects. I'll be here for you through it all. I'll see you next time.